in Ireland and
Uh-oh. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Pilots Radio. What you just heard was the wrong track that I was meaning to start for my show. I don't know how I done it, but I accidentally slipped something from Linnea Lee where my intro goes, and it started to play the wrong one. So I decided to shut my intro down and just start without one today. Everybody knows who I am by now that attends my show. But today I'm going to be talking to Michelle Manning, and she's a returning guest to my show, and she's also the owner and founder of holisticmountain.com. And I believe she's also got some books out and some CDs. And today she wanted to talk to me about ancient acoustic star temples. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that might be her topic at the upcoming 2012 Paranormal Summit in Sacramento that Anthony Sanchez is putting on. I'll confirm that with her here in just a second. In the meantime, why don't we bring her in and let's get the show started. Michelle, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you, Royce?
Oh, I'm doing just fantastic. Apologize for the lack of intro today, but it looks like I goofed somewhere down the line. Maybe I didn't get enough coffee this morning.
Wrong frequency.
But, you got this ancient acoustic star temples. Is that going to be your main topic over at the summit?
Yes, it is. This should be an exciting paranormal summit that Mr. Sanchez is putting on. And he's bringing in several keynote speakers, including myself. And my topic is ancient acoustic star temples. You know, there's a whole lot of ancient temples all around the earth. In every land that you can think of, you can find an ancient temple. And they all have similarities, every single one of them. And it doesn't matter if they were 5,000 years ago or 500 years ago. And some of them are 30,000 years ago, we're discovering. We're also discovering that a lot of them are built one on top of the other. Wherever you find a temple from 500 years ago, you'll find one from 5,000 or 10,000 years ago right underneath it that it's been built on top of.
Wow.
So, yeah, these temple sites were very sacred, and they were chosen by the ancient people as far back as the beginning of time for the exact spots that they were built on. The spot itself was extremely important for the work that they were going to be doing in the temple. And what I'll be talking about at this paranormal summit is what the work was that they were doing in these temples, why these temples were all built on these certain spots, why they were built with star alignments, because many of them aligned to either a star system or the solstice, the equinox, phases of the moon. Nearly all of them incorporated something of that into the building of the temple, so that there were certain niches or doorways inside of the temple that would light up when the equinox would come or when the solstices would come. And so these ancient people would all do their ceremonies at these times of these star alignments or these sun and moon alignments. And, we're now discovering that these temples are made of these megalithic stones, and we can't figure out how they made them or what they were used for. And part of what I'll be talking about at this paranormal summit is exactly that. How they were built, what they were used for, why they were all acoustic, because every single one of them have acoustic qualities. Even our churches today have acoustic qualities and a choir that sings in almost every single church in any land, anywhere. There's something like that goes on, and it's a remnant from those ancient times and what those ancient people knew. And so that's part of the secrets that I'll be revealing at this summit. So this is breaking, cutting-edge stuff that there are so many people that are on the edge of. And as a Native American, along with being a holistic practitioner, a hypnotherapist, a neuro-linguistic practitioner, acutonic sound practitioner, author and recording artist of the Planetary Meditations. I'm also a Chippewa from Turtle Mountain Clan, so I'm a Native American. And with that heritage comes some secrets. Just from growing up in the way, I'm taught in a different way than Christianity or other spiritual, There are different spiritual schools out there, of course, and different religions. And while Native Americans don't really consider what they do a religion, it is their form of spirituality. It's just semantics, really.
Right. And, for me, there's a difference between religion and spirituality. I mean, religion is like a dogmatic institution that enforces rules, whereas spirituality is about bringing out God from within to without.
Right, and in Native America, it's a way of life. We walk through Creator and what He gives us every day. There's this misinformation going around the world that Native Americans worship Mother Earth. And it isn't that we worship Mother Earth. We respect Mother Earth. We worship Creator just like everybody else. Creator's the same guy, whatever name you want to give him, whether he was an ancient alien or Jehovah or Yahweh or Gichimanatu Wakantanka,
He could have been Lassie, but he's still the same entity.
Right. Whatever name you want to give him and say this is what allowed us to be on this planet, that's the energy that we are praying to in Native America. So what I'm bringing forth is the research that I've done through Native America, and what I've found is that Native Americans, although they've built a lot of temples as well, and kivas, and different things like that, they've also found natural ones, natural stone monuments, natural stone temples. For instance, Chimney Rock in Pagosa Springs, or just outside of Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And I'm from Vail Valley, so that's the south end of my woods. Down there, this beautiful monument is two big rock formations, two towers, standing side by side that were made by Creator. These are not stacked up by the Indians. There's kind of a natural pyramid underneath it, and then these two towers on top that look like big radio antennas or big tuning forks or something. And they mark the phases of the moon. During the lunar standstill, the moon will rise between those two towers. And it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. And I encourage everyone, if they ever get the opportunity to be able to see something like that, to go and do it, because during the time of those alignments, there was more than just the moon rising in between these two stones in this particular place at this particular phase of a standstill. There was also the Pleiades just off to the right that evening as the moon was rising. And I was asking the chief archaeoastronomer that night, Ron Sutcliffe, say, is that the Pleiades right there? And he said, yes, it is. And he's shining the flashlight in my face. Are you Native American? I said, yes, I am. And he said, okay. And then some other people asked some questions that were, different. And he answered them, and then I had another one. And I said, well, if the Pleiades is right there and the standstill's going on now, where's Venus? And he shined the flashlight in my face again. Are you Native American? I said, yeah, it's me again. Oh, okay. Venus is below the ecliptic. I said, oh, in the lower worlds. And a couple of my Indian brothers that were there nudged me and smiled and laughed like we had a secret joke going on. And we do, because we understand that alignment. And no one else understood why I was asking those questions except the chief archaeoastronomer.
Okay.
He's a scientist. You know, he's a scientist. But he understood it because he's also an archaeologist, and he's also an astronomer, as well as being a scientist of the land itself. And he knew that the Indians hold certain secrets that they don't tell everybody.
I've heard about that before.
Yeah, you know, the rangers know things. They don't tell everybody everything. I went up Chimney Rock on a day tour with a bunch of tourist folk, and I was asking impertinent questions all the way to the top. It's a big hill, and you go all the way to the top of the hill, past all these kivas. There's kivas lining the sides of the road all the way to the top. And when you get to the top, there are many huge, huge kivas at the top. 1, 2 in particular that are the grand kivas. And these are the ones that align to the solstice and the equinox and the stars. And they're right up there at those 2 big towers that are the natural rock formations. The Indians built their own formations, these kivas, these temples that go into the earth, right there at the top, as well as 300 that line the walkway, the path, to the top. So it's a good hike, a good couple miles straight up, as I recall, at least a mile. And when you get to the top and you see these grand kivas, I'm saying to him, so, you know, you're saying they're living in these kivas all the way up? And he said, uh-huh. And I knew that was wrong because you don't live in a kiva, you live in a lodge. But you used the kiva in the southwest, their kivas, for healing and for ceremony.
Didn't Hopi have kivas as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had to stop and think about that one. I wasn't sure, but it seemed like I heard that somewhere before, but I wasn't, well, you know, sure where.
Hopi are very sacred. They view time different than we do. You know, they're masters of space and time, as were the Mayans, and they look at it differently than we do. And that's, you know, something that I've been teaching for a while now, is this Mayan calendar that's coming up. We aren't coming to the end of the world because we look at time like an arrow, the arrow of time. You know, that's our science for it is the arrow of time, and it deals with entropy, and it deals with things ending and not beginning again. They just end and it's over. You're born and then you die, and that's all.
You know what?
So Hopi,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I actually got something to share with you on that when you get through, but go ahead.
Well, the Hopi view it as a circle. It's always recycling and constantly moving on. And the energies recycle. The memories may not, but the energies recycle. And there are ways to tap into the memories and find them. And as a hypnotherapist, I can tell you that I've regressed people to some places that have made me go, "You're where? You're on a spaceship. Okay. And you're not human. And you're coming past the Earth, going by what? A way station and it's Egypt? Well, I don't know, but I'm seeing big pyramids. Okay. Now, this, I swear, is straight out of a session. And I would never give away names, but this is someone who doesn't talk about UFOs or go to those circuits or any of that. Just a normal human being who, when we did a regression on shyness, I believe it was, this is what came up. So these are the things that we're finding inside of ourselves as we look back deeper and deeper through our timelines. And the Native Americans have an awful lot of legends about star maidens and star boys, and the Hopi certainly do. And they see time as a sphere, as a circle, as always coming back on itself. And so do the Mayans. So when they say their calendar ends, it's the end of a world cycle. It isn't the end of the calendar. It's the end of the calendar for that world cycle.
Or that age.
Right.
No, see,
one particular age.
I got here a news article that hit my desktop last week by Ned Potter of ABC. Says oldest known Maya calendar found, no signs of 2012 doomsday. And it says here that they were excavating a 9th century Maya complex of Oxtan in Guatemala, and they found what may have been a workspace for the town scribe. Paintings on the walls, they report, appear to include calculations related to the Maya calendar. The researchers writing in today's edition of the Journal Science say the calculation projects 7,000 years into the future. There's no hint that the calendar ends on December 21st, 2012, despite popular belief. It says, why would they go into these numbers if the world was going to come to an end this year, said Anthony Aveni.
That's exactly right.
They're agreeing with you, in other words.
This isn't the only world, for one thing. On the Mayan calendar, we're leaving the 4th world and entering the 5th world. That means there's been 3 other worlds before this one that exist on planet Earth. And they still are worlds of men, or men and women. And this current 5 ages of man is coming to an end on December 21st, 2012. And we go into the time of the pause. And these Mayans knew so much about astronomy that they understood that the Milky Way had a gravity wave that pulsed all the way into the center and all the way back out to the edge. And when it pulsed into the center and back out to the edge, it completed 104,000 year cycle, or a tune, what they called a tune. So 104,000 tune was one pulse of the Milky Way into its black hole and back out to the edge. And what happens is, at the end of that pulse, December 21st, 2012, that pulse ends, the galaxy takes a big breath, basically, and recalibrates all of the harmonics in the entire Milky Way, our solar system, our planet, and all of her beings get a new harmonic. We get tuned up to a new place. Everything is based on harmonics. The beginning of time was harmonics first. There was primordial sound before the light show went off and the stellar expansion began. There was all this dark time from the beginning of the universe until that fireworks display went off, when all the stars started to come together enough and clump together into enough mass to reach that critical mass and begin to explode into star matter and form the stars that are the universe that's now expanding outward. So here's the thing. July 25th, 2013 is the day that pause ends. July 26th, 2013 is the first day of the New World Cycle, or what the Mayans called Day Out of Time. Yep, they could step right out of time, those Mayans. So Day Out of Time is actually July 26th, 2013, and it's the first day of the New World, and nobody's talking about it but me. And maybe Jose Arguelles, who's not here anymore to talk about it. So I'm continuing on in his good work because he put so much into deciphering the Mayan Codex and all those different calendars. And let me remind you that they had a harmonic calendar of 13 tones that overlaid their solar calendar of days. Every day had a tone that went with it. There was, on their Mayan Codex, a layout of a purple on the inside of the whole page layout on the harmonic modulation calendar that looks like a little man with his hands on his hips and 2 antennae coming out of his head. And inside of those purple boxes are the codes for the planets in the solar system. So they knew the tone codes for the planets in the solar system. They knew astronomy, they knew insane architecture. They understood the acoustics inside of their temples to bring in this star energy, and they knew how to dial in through certain harmonic codes what stars they wanted to talk to, what stars they wanted to bring in the frequencies of and learn from.
Is that really much different than the microwaves that people read nowadays?
The microwaves that people read?
Well, okay, they say that some sound comes across on microwaves, and I forget how else, but I mean, you know, we don't listen to these tones. We do certain frequencies and gigahertz and what have you. Is our system very much different from their system?
Like the TDAP, those digital audio things, you know, that's a lot of the man-made frequencies that we've put up with our cell phone towers and the HARP. And unfortunately, most of those man-made frequency towers are destructive reverb, and they're making the earth into a really sad, destructive, chaotic frequency. And that was the note that we've been living in for quite some time. With this harmonic recalibration, we'll be able to bring in this beautiful Venus note that's been singing to us a lot lately. With this Venus transit that just happened, we had the sun behind Venus, amping the frequency of Venus to the earth. And Venus, there's a reason we called her Aphrodite and the goddess of love. The frequency of that planet is so sweet, and it's based on the music of the spheres, which was Pythagoras' work, the ancient mathematician. And the Pythagorean theorem of the music of the spheres states that each planet in our solar system has a note. Kepler did work on top of that called the harmonies of the worlds, and he said when the planets got together in conjunctions, they made harmonies. When you put 3 notes together, you get a harmonic. Or 2 notes together, you get a musical interval. And so he said when the planets would get together, they would make little symphonies. And these he called the harmonies of the world. Johannes Kepler, very famous planetary scientist, interplanetary scientist, ancient one, who had a lot of knowledge. And here's the thing, these ancient people knew more than we know today. So what I'm teaching about now is how to regain that knowledge, how to tune into those frequencies from the stars.
Okay, now once you get
back what we've lost.
And what do you do with them once you're tuned into them?
Well, the thing that our planetary solar system gives us is everything we need to heal all of this chaotic frequency damage that we've done to ourselves with, well, our own negative emotions, because they create a frequency, as well as these nuclear submarines, things like the HARP, the microwave cell towers, microwave ovens, cell phone. All these things are destructive frequencies that are killing us, giving us cancer, ruining the earth, killing the earth. And as a Native American, one thing I learned as a very small child from my grandmother was, she said, stay in tune with nature. That's how she said it to me. Stay in tune with your planet. This is your mother. You need to respect her. You need to take care of her. You need to always honor her, for she gives you a place to live. You know, we wouldn't have a place to build our lodge and hunt our animals and go to work and drive our cars and do what we do if we didn't have the earth. So we need to have more respectful ways of living, more respectful modes of transportation that don't damage the earth, more respectful systems of barter and trade that aren't based on greed and fear and these lower negative emotions that are not love. They're a negative frequency. Those are negative frequency emotions. And when we set those negative frequency emotions up inside of our body, we create dis-ease, disillusionment, illness, cancer, ultimately, from going through so much negative stuff for so many years. You have to go through a lot of crap to create cancer in your body. It doesn't come from just one overnight bad thing. That takes a lot of years of anger, hate, fear, unresolved trauma to create that in the body. And one thing that the ancients knew was that the star frequencies would take that out.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people blame cancer on smoking. The problem with that is some people live to be 40 or more, live 40 or more years into their 70s or 80s and never get cancer. And not all cancer is related to the lungs anyway.
Exactly. You know, there's ladies with cervical cancer that never smoked a day in their life and maybe never even had a baby, you know, but yet they'll be going through that because there was something created to birthing in their lives that was most uncomfortable for them. And it could have happened while they were in utero. Suppose they had an alcoholic mother who was getting beaten up on a daily basis, and they barely even made it through.
One of the things I was going to ask you about is, are you going to be having workshops on this teaching on the ancient acoustic star temples?
I'll be doing more going forward. You know, it's just a 1-hour presentation and it's not even that because you have setup and takedown time, at the UFO Paranormal Summit. So be sure you get there for that because I have a lot of info to bring out. And yes, I'll be teaching more workshops going forward, possibly at the Celebrations Fair in October in Colorado Springs. I hope to be doing a presentation on what the ancients knew and more about the megalithic stones and how they were moved, and just more about what the ancients knew, because we think we know it all. And if we can't figure out how they put those temples in place in the first place, then they obviously knew more than we knew, and that's just one of the things.
Right. And also... Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Having gone throughout the Native American lands and researched intensively and learned all the things of the Native American temple secrets. And then I have a team of people that have also gone to the Guatemalan lands, Honduras, you know, the Mayan temples, to Egypt, to, all over, you name it. They've been there on my team and brought me back amazing information about the Asian temples in China and the Kuan Yin temples and, you know, the temples of Venus in Rome, Chavan de Huantar in Peru. All these places are acoustic. The Sun Gate at Tiahuanaco, the standing stones in Orkney. Anytime there's 18 standing stones, they're aligning to the moon. Hatshepsut's obelisk in Egypt. It's a huge tuning fork that vibrates at certain frequencies during certain alignments. You know, these are the things that we've discovered they're there. We know there's something going on with them, but we don't know exactly what they were doing. And this is the information that I'm breaking now in this conference, is what we were doing, healing with these star energies, how we were bringing them in, why there were alignments to the electromagnetic field, to magnetic north, to the ley lines, to the stars. You know, we were bringing in star energy, conducting it through the earth. Why were there healing beds? There's all kinds of information that I'm going to be bringing out during this upcoming presentation here at this marvelous UFO summit, and in upcoming classes in Colorado Springs at the Celebration Store and at the Celebration Fairs and wherever else I end up being going forward. And I'm still trying to put together the coming year now. But I'm looking forward to bringing more of this information in. I've taught about Day Out of Time at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles in February, and all about the Mayan calendar. and how the Mayans looked at time and saw things so differently than we do.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
You know, when I did this class ceremony on the solar eclipse, the day of the solar eclipse, May 20th, there was a major alignment with the black hole at the center of our Milky Way, the Pleiades, the sun, the moon, and the earth were all in a perfect line. And so the black hole was amplifying the Pleiadian energy through the sun, through the moon, to the earth, and bringing in some beautiful knowledge through frequency to the earth. And when we learn that way, it's so much different than sitting in front of a TV or even listening to a radio. But let me remind you that those are frequencies too. And when we don't like the station, we just change it. And that is what I'm teaching, is how we can change our station.
Okay.
Simply by shifting our frequencies within our planets that sit inside our bodies, which the ancient Hindus called the chakras.
Also, the chakras can equate to planets inside of you. I was never aware of that.
As above, so below. You're welcome. That's another thing they're really not teaching. And yet, they knew it. The ancients knew it. We've forgotten it. We can teach you all about the chakras and all the different colors and all the things they represent, and when they get blocked, how it affects you. And when one area is blocked, it might affect that area of the body and cause disease or pain in that area because that chakra is blocked. And if we open it up, then that whole area releases all the pain out of it. Well, when you understand that as above, so below, the macrocosm lines up with the microcosm, and every time there's a supernova and there's star birth, it's the same as cell mutation.
Oh, migration.
Not mutation.
My apologies. I was just going what it sounded like at first.
That's what I started to say, and hopefully we're not doing that. But however, when there's splicing going on, that can happen. And, you know, we have to remember with beautiful movies like Avatar that gave us this message of ceremony and this message of tribal wisdom and this message of taking care of the natural people of the planet, it also gave us a message that gene splicing with aliens was okay. And I really want you guys out there to think about that, because there are different messages that we are being given by the media all the time. And we only see the surface ones, and we forget to look at the deeper ones.
That is true.
And I've had people say, there was no gene splicing in that movie. And I'm all, wait a minute. That's the whole reason Jake Scully took over the Avatar for his dead brother. No one else could do it, or they'd have to throw the Avatar away because he had the gene pattern. He was spliced with the genes of Jake Scully's brother. That's why Jake, even with no training, was given that Avatar and allowed, even though he's a completely untrained Marine in that program, he happened to be a Marine, and he happened to be the brother of the guy that the Avatar was made for. Why? Because they were linked by gene splicing. So I really just want people to recognize that. And, you know, sometimes we're looking for greater capabilities. And, you know, maybe this Avatar had these carbon fibers that made him jump higher and land with springier impact and not break his bones and things like this. But we're forgetting that we're losing who we are the more and more we get bred out. And as a Native American with blue eyes and a Danish grandfather and a grandmother who was straight off the res, I can tell you that we've been bred down quite a bit from the original star people that brought us in.
Oh, I would imagine
the original star tribes on the earth. And we're becoming less and less. And so if 2012 And that pause from 2012 to 2013 is about a recalibration of our harmonics throughout the entire galaxy. Know that the star people in our galaxy are going to come to a higher frequency and be more loving and come to an evolution for themselves, and so are we. And if we think we're the only ones in this Goldilocks zone, we used to think, remember Carl Sagan saying there's billions and billions of stars. Then all of a sudden we got really good telescopes. And now there's billions and billions of galaxies. And if we think for 1 minute we're the only Goldilocks zone in those billions and billions of galaxies, then that make us unique enough to create life, then we're being extremely arrogant, because there has to be more life out there. And to think, well, they'll never get here because it takes too long to travel, we're thinking in our own box. And they might have a way to travel outside of our box.
That's true.
And they might have been here before and taught it to us, and we may have known it once and have forgotten it. Or we may have gone and taught it to them and then forgot it ourselves.
Well, I hear the Rig Veda has instructions on how to build a UFO in it.
Well, there you go. The Mahabharata.
Yeah, that
the
too.
Vimanas. It's out there in every ancient culture if we look closely at it. And this is what the ancient alien hunters like Giorgio Tsoukalos and Philip Coppens are bringing forward for us now. And, many people are criticizing them, and at the same time I heard that show was #1.
Yeah, I've heard that it was very popular. Real quick, though, let's go ahead and let everybody know who all's going to be at this here conference. And I don't have a full list in front of me because it has changed since I got this here banner, and I never got the banner updated. But I can tell you that Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot's going to be there.
She's my sister. She's the only girl besides myself that will be presenting. So I'm really glad to have her there. We've also got George Noory from Coast to Coast, and we've got Bill Murphy from Fact or Faked Paranormal.
I'm glad you did that, because he was one of the ones I couldn't tell you that I knew about but wasn't on this older list.
Well, Paul Bradford from Ghost Hunter International is going to be there. And, he works with the other side and finding ghosts through the dimensional gateways. And I just want to remind everybody, everything he does, every piece of equipment, and he's a tech man, that he does is frequency. It's all frequency equipment that allows him to get into the frequency of the dimension where the guys are hanging out that used to be here that aren't here anymore. Mel Fabregas will be hosting our theater panels. Scotty Roberts from Intrepid Magazine will be there. Jay Widener's coming in with a really cool movie. Norio Hayakawa, who, he and Anthony Sanchez are the Dulce men for Dulce, New Mexico, and the NORAD base, and what's really going on underneath the base. And Norio's also always been the big Area 51 man. Micah Hanks, David Weatherly, Lyle Blackburn, Jeffrey Gonzalez, Ed Grimsley, Mystery Solved, and myself. So it's quite a lineup, and though we lost a couple of people, we gained some really marvelous talent.
You gained some people I wasn't aware of.
Well, yeah, to have Paul Bradford from Ghost Hunters International is a real thrill for me. He's someone I'm looking forward to talking to, because his work and my work both have very much to do with frequency and working through the dimensions and looking at time as space-time, because in order to work through dimensions, you have to let go of linear time and start to look at it the way the Hopi do, the way the Mayan do, the way any astronaut does, because they teach them that the fabric of space and time are one. And the reason we can't get anywhere, farther than the moon, our closest little satellite, is because we don't know how to move through time.
That is true.
And this is something the ancients understood, and Paul Bradford, talking to other times, he's working through the dimensions of time, and I think that is absolutely fascinating. And that's something we're not giving the ghost hunters credit for doing. Oh, yeah, they're talking to the dead. Yeah, right, sure. They're talking to people in other dimensions, in other time zones, that are still working in that dimension of time. And that's fascinating and fabulous, and I really compliment him on that work. And Bill Murphy, Fact or Fake, to be able to bring forth the people who are just making a mess out of it and not doing the real work so that we can tell who's real and who isn't is always a good thing. And George Noory, I'm really hoping I can talk to him. I know he's going to be very busy, but if I can get an interview with him, I'm going to look forward to that. And I'm really thankful that you gave me one, because as far as I know, that's the only one I've gotten so far with this symposium.
Actually, I think Jerry Pippen's going to be giving you an interview, too.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I hope so. I haven't heard from him, although I've certainly been on his show before, and he and I are good friends. I know he was going through some things and taking care of himself and getting well, because he had a few little health concerns there. And we're all, really glad that he's doing better now, and sending our prayers and our energy his way, because we need him too, just like we need you, Royce. Thank you so much for letting me be on your show.
Oh, thank you for being here. I think actually we all need each other.
That's for sure. And again, Ancient Acoustic Star Temples, June 16th, Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm one of the very first presenters, so get up and get in there early. Don't miss a minute of this, because it's all so exciting. Ed Grimsley is presenting right before me at 8 a.m., so it's an early day. And there's so much going on at this conference. You don't want to miss any of it. There's a charge to get in the door, but you can get tickets at SACUFOCON.com, and find out more about who we are and read our bios and all that on that website. So be sure to check that out while you're there, and come to the conference, because this is going to be some groundbreaking news that everyone is bringing forth. The stuff that Anthony Sanchez is going to bring out, the man who's giving this conference, is just absolutely astounding, on the point of being, scary. But remember that we can always change the station if we don't like the reality.
When you always change the reality, that is how you change, actually you change the station, you change the reality.
That's it. And if you want to change your station, you can get the planetary meditations at holisticmountain.com and start tuning into those frequencies that get us out of this destructive reverb right away.
Okay, now, you got a book out, too. You want to tell us a little something about that?
Well, that's the planetary meditations. And they are 3 CDs and a workbook of healing questions. And on the CDs are the actual planetary frequencies from our solar system. They are set inside of beautiful music, smooth jazz and light classical music that was produced by a Grammy Award-winning musician, Joe Ramersa from Shadowbox Studio, and he partnered with me on this project. Inside of the stories are actual positive suggestions for change. Being a neuro-linguistic programmer, I know how to do that. So there's hypnotic languaging that actually causes you to change at the subconscious level rather than having to think about it all day long. I'm going to be more confident. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to be more loving. You just push play, and 5 minutes later you are, because you learned it at a subconscious level. So all the learnings are very positive. They're very beautiful. They're to bring us to love. And then those planetary frequencies, they're the major healer. They're the secret. That's what was going on in those temples. That's why there were 18,000-pound ceramic healing beds underneath the Bosnian temple in Bosnia-Herzegovina, where they just found the latest temple that's the oldest one ever. They're dating it up to 30,000 years old. And inside of it was this huge ceramic bed surrounded by water. And this is what they knew, that these frequencies, if they laid on the bed and let the water conduct and the ceramic insulate, at the time of an alignment, they would bring these frequencies in. So now we don't have the temples. They're not working because we don't know how to use them, and most of them are buried, and we can't get into them, and they're national parks and this and that. So you push play on the planetary meditation, and you get all these frequencies into you, and it heals you right down to the stem cell level by recreating through the protonic level. You know, the string theory says that at the subprotonic level, we are strings that vibrate. So we are harmonic beings. And these planetary frequencies, these vibrations, when they come in, they heal us all the way to the subprotonic level inside of our atomic structure and rebuild us through our atomic structure up. So it heals everything physically and emotionally that's wrong with us by getting us out of this chaotic frequency that we're living and emoting in, and bringing us to the frequencies of love that heal everything.
Well,
all we have to do is push play and listen to a cool song and a cool story and get healed. Doesn't get any easier.
I know I've had Stephen Myler on my show in the past, and he does these tours to Egypt, to the pyramid, and he was telling me that the Giza pyramid in itself is one of these ancient acoustic temples, and that you can go in there, and it's just a wondrous thing with the actual notes that you're talking about in there.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Those were conductive chambers, and they could conduct very high star power to the point of breaking things apart like a laser, only imagine a star laser. The capstone on Giza aligns to the Pleiades.
Now, I thought that it was missing its capstone.
Well, when the capstone is in place, the beam would come through and it would align directly to the Pleiades. Then there's a shaft that aligns to Thuban, which at the time that the pyramids were built was the pole star, which is now Polaris, because there's a slight wobble in the axis of the Earth. And so 5,000 years ago, we were aligned to a different star than we are now, which may shift again because we're slightly shifting, and we may end up being aligned to Vega, or a different star than Polaris.
Okay.
The three pyramids together make the Orion star belt, exact alignment of the Orion star belt.
Yeah, and I know that the Orion star belt was important to not just the Egyptians, but the Hopi and many other ancient tribes.
Here again, natural mountains, the three mesas that make up Hopi land, also aligned to Orion star belt. Isn't that fascinating? There's temples all over the world that align. Anytime there's three together, pretty much, they're aligning to Orion's belt. So a major player in the star game of who created us. There wouldn't be so many aligning to Orion's belt unless they had something to do with who we are.
Right.
Don't you think that would be a clue? That all the temples align to the same guys? The Pleiades, the Orions, hello. So on May 20th, when we had this great alignment that I spoke of at the time of the solar eclipse, with the black hole, the sun, the moon, the Pleiades, and the Earth, Chichen Itza's El Castillo the El Castillo, the castle. That's what the Spaniards called it when they came in and kind of took over the place. The Mayans called it the Temple of Kukulkan. And the Temple of Kukulkan, the very top flat base, lines up to the Pleiades, or lined up to the Pleiades on May 20th, at that time of alignment, at that time of solar eclipse, only on 2012. May 20th, 2012 only did that alignment happen with the Pleiades, the galactic center, the sun, the moon, and the earth. And I was teaching a ceremony in Colorado Springs on that day, doing an authentic Native American drum ceremony and a few other things, and teaching on the Mayan calendar as well.
But when was the last time there was such a alignment?
You got to ask the Mayans, because it was probably about 5,000 years ago. That something that was that dramatic lined up all together like that. You know, the Venus transit, they talk about how often that happens, and so there was one 8 years ago. But the next one isn't for 120 years. In December, I think it's the 17th, 2117, we get our next transit of Venus that just happened a couple days ago, as Venus passed in front of the sun, between the sun and the earth. And we could see that beautiful occultation of Venus. Then after 2117, we don't get another one for 240 years. So we won't see it again in our lifetimes. And then after 120 years, it's 240. And so these kind of alignments, they just don't happen all that often. And that's just Venus between the Earth and the Sun. Right. Oh, El Caracol in Chichen Itza. There's there's El Castillo, and then there's also El Caracol, which was the Venus Observatory. El Caracol means the snail because it has this spiral chamber inside. And there's windows. A lot of them have deteriorated and fallen away. But those windows that go around the outside of that El Caracol all marked the inferior conjunction of Venus. So guess what? On June 5th, there was an alignment coming through El Caracol right into that temple.
Well, I know that in the ancient times, all of this stuff you're talking about was important. And, I mean, think about the ancients. They knew that the world was separated in ages. This is why they had the age of Taurus, the age of Scorpio, the age of Pisces, Cancer, etc. This the whole thing, the whole zodiac's about, in a sense. And the ancients has known all about it. But like you say, we seem to have lost it.
Well, we have, and the modern astronomers don't buy into it, even though they're very careful how they name planets. And the planets have to do with what's going on in its neighborhood. You know, Eris came in and Sedna came in, and they got the names they got through the Astronomical Union, because that's who decides the names. And Mike Brown, I believe, was the man who put in for the names for, I think, both of them, Sedna and Eris. And it's interesting to me that, you know, Eris is a Greek goddess, as the planets are Roman and Greek goddess names, Roman names. Eris was the goddess of discord. She threw the golden apple into the circle of goddesses and said, "Okay, Paris of Troy, pick out who's the fairest of them all." And he was supposed to pick Helen of Troy, and, you know, he picked Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and started a war. And yeah, so and she comes with this golden apple saying, "I want some respect as a woman."
Why is it always an apple? The apples of Odin that Hercules got a hold of, the apple in the Garden of Eden, the apple you're just talking about, the apple of Snow White, the apple of Snow White. It's always an apple, isn't it?
Isn't it? The forbidden fruit.
Okay, listen, we've been on for about an hour now, and I was going to suggest that we I guess go ahead and wrap. Was there anything else you wanted to add that I might have forgot to cover?
I think we've covered it. It's 2 days, June 16th and 17th in Sacramento. It's the SAC UFO Con, UFO Paranormal Summit, put on by Anthony Sanchez, and my presentation is June 16th on Saturday at 9 a.m., Ancient Acoustic Star Temples, and I'm Michelle Maney.
Okay, and I want to... Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
Planetary Meditations and HolisticMountain.com. That about covers me.
Okay, and I got your link in the chat room, and I got it under the description, but I'll be moving your description to the archives probably later today or tomorrow to make room for Lyle Blackburn, who's also part of the summit, who's going to be on my show this coming Tuesday. And in the meantime, Michelle, I want to thank you once again for coming. You're always a pleasure to have. You're a very special lady. You're very knowledgeable, and you're just a lot of fun to be around.
Well, thank you so much, dear. It's always good talking to you, Royce. Really appreciate everything that you're doing for all of us who are trying to put this information out there.
Oh, no problem. I'm always glad to try to do my share. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend and have a safe trip up there to Sacramento.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to Anthony Sanchez for putting this on for us.
Right, and I want to. I'm glad he did too. Anthony and me kind of go back a little ways ourselves, and you know he's a wonderful guy in his own way, and he does a lot of work, and he's working on more than one project that I'm aware of. So I imagine he, like you said, he's very busy.
Boy, he is. That man's all over the place all at once.
All right, you have a good one.
Thank you so much, Royce. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay, everybody. Now, just a real quick reminder, this coming Tuesday, just making sure of something real quick. My guest is going to be Lyle Blackburn, and he is also going to be a speaker at this here conference. And he's also the author of The Beast of Boggy Creek, and I don't know a lot about this story. He's going to have to tell us some more. I know he's a cryptozoologist, and I think that this here beast is sort of like the Bigfoot for that area, maybe with some differences, but I could be wrong about that. I'll learn more about this. It's supposed to be the true story of the folk monster. Like I say, I'll learn more when I talk to Lyle. Can't really go into depth with you without kind of making things up there or assuming things, which I don't want to get off into that. But I will invite everybody to come. Invite your friends. Be sure and tell them that if they sign up at the site, the membership is free, and that they can get into the chat room with that, and they can sign up for the newsletter for free. And they'll always know when the show's going to be and what it's going to be about. Also, don't forget to check out World UFO Day there's a link to it, www.worldUFOtoday.com on the right-hand side of my site in the upper right corner. And don't forget to go to if you look on the left, there's a menu in the upper left block. On toward the bottom of that menu, it says Other, and right under that, you got a text link to Friends. And if you check that out, these are social networks and forums that I'm a member of that I think are great places for you. One of them's Alien UFO Community. The other is Supernatural UFO. And the other is United Paranormal International. Rather than read off the links, I think it'd be a lot easier just to click on them from here and run on over there. And then there's also the radio shows that I recommend, which is UKPN Radio with Gary Brown, Jim Harold Radio at jimharold.com, The Gralien Report, my friend Micah Hanks, and then there's Ohio Exopolitics with Mark Snyder. I think you'll enjoy all of those shows. Once again, if you folks have any questions for the people at the conference, be sure to contact me with those questions, because as far as I know, I'm supposed to be asking questions of the guest speakers there via Skype, and I'd like to get your questions in when I do. And that's to find out more about tickets, go to www.sacufocon.com, and all the information is there. And with that, I'm going to call this one a wrap. Oh, and I want to thank everybody who have participated in the show. Couldn't have a show without my listeners any more than I could without my guests. I'm going to call that one a wrap, and I'll talk at you guys later.